So today, we're going to continue on our series on how to use the science of mind by Ernest Holmes. And today we're going to talk about a technique for practice. In other words, we're going to talk about a technique that each of us can use, that all of us can use, that's available to us. But let me remind you of where we start out. We start out knowing that there is a creative power that is everywhere present. It is always responding to the nature of our thoughts, and we can consciously choose to use this power. Here's the thing, we can consciously choose to unconsciously use this power too. But when we truly understand and we become aware is the ultimate. When you become aware, you realize you're no longer a microcosm, that you're limited, but that you're free and you're expansive. When you become aware, you realize there is a creative power. When you become aware, you realize it's always with you. When you become aware, you realize you're always using it. And when you become aware, you realize you can begin to use it in any way you choose. And so you become a conscious creator instead of a creator that creates by default. You see, one of the things that we've identified is that everyone who becomes conscious and starts using the science of mind, we call a practitioner. And our job as a practitioner is to build an absolute conviction and faith that the process of spiritual mind treatment works. In other words, we use this idea of building a belief. A belief are our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings aligned toward a specific result, held persistently and consistently, either consciously or unconsciously. So our job is to have the conviction to know that that belief creates, that there is a power behind that belief. And what we're doing is we're using spiritual mind treatment. We're treating our minds to see things the way we desire. That's the building of the belief. And you see, a practitioner must have an understanding of this science of spiritual mind treatment and then be willing to train their conscious mind. You see, that's where all training starts. Training the conscious mind so that as we train it further and further, we can create it to be unconscious. It can be a habit of thinking. I've developed a new habit of thinking. I now visualize myself as a man that is 6'1" and weighs less than 190 pounds. I had a habit where I was a man that was 6'1" that weighed 195 pounds or slightly less. Starting in January, I started building that new belief. When I built that new belief, I had to adjust how I thought, how I spoke, how I felt, and how I acted. And in doing so, I am now that man that is under 190 pounds consistently for the last 2 weeks. And I know what that feeling is. I have built that, and it's becoming now my unconscious habit. That this is how I think, this is how I talk, this is how I act, and this is how I feel in that body. It's a real simple example, but it's an example I think that you can understand. Everything that I think, feel, speak, and act is in alignment with that number of just under 190 for me. And that's becoming still conscious, but it's becoming more and more unconscious. You see, treatment, spiritual mind treatment, is a process of adjusting our view from an existing condition to a reality that already exists within the quantum field. So within the quantum field, there was a Lee Wallach at 195. Within the quantum field, there is a Lee Wallach at 190. So I'm adjusting my view of who I am to the new condition. And what I did was, as a practitioner, I removed the obstruction and I adjusted my view to be able to see what I considered a greater reality. In other words, I removed the obstruction that I could not be 190. I removed the obstruction that this is where I was and I would stay there. I removed the obstruction that it would be difficult for me to do this. And I said it would be easy for me to do this. Because this power that is working through me knows no obstacles. I am the director of it. It responds to me. And all I have to do is be responsible for my thoughts, words, actions, and feelings. Think about that. That's all you are responsible. You're not responsible for anyone else. You're not responsible for the world. You are responsible for all of your thoughts, words, actions, and feelings. And you get to choose where you direct them. You see, a practitioner's role is to lift their mental state to a place where their vision is adjusted to a new and chosen viewpoint. This can be on any aspect of life. It can be on an aspect of life with respect to a relationship. I look at it this way. I'm in my 49th year of marriage. I'm in my 50th year of knowing my wife. And I truly believe that relationships can get better. So I have taken and created a new image of Lee in a relationship with Jean. And here's what I've created. My vision is it's more fun. It's more spontaneous. It's more meaningful. It's more supportive. And the key thing is I have to think those thoughts, feel those thoughts, speak those thoughts, and act upon those thoughts. And trust me, I'm doing that constantly. Why? Because I have determined it's important to me. I really got that vision when we were visiting my granddaughter Claire last week. And I got the vision because with Claire, Baba is fun. Baba just cracks her up. I'm always doing things to bring joy. Tickle time. That's our favorite thing to do is tickle time. But I realize that my wife brings different gifts to the relationship of a grandparent with a granddaughter. My wife is a nurturer. My wife is a really safe place. And so my role is I see her in that role, and my actions are, when I was getting a little tired of being the fun guy, I would say, Claire, go take the book to Nona. Go sit in Nona's lap and let her read to you. And Claire would go, okay, and she would go. And you could see how Claire and her grandmother just bonded, and there was such a beautiful love. And yet I realized I could share that love through my observation. I didn't have to be the center of attention. Isn't that interesting? We do not have to be the center of attention to feel love. You see, our knowledge of truth dissipates illusion. The truth is, we are an individual, unique expression of the one, and there's a power that responds to the nature of our thought. Everything else is an illusion. The truth is, there is only one. The illusion is, there are many. You see, illusion can never dissipate the truth. The truth is the divine presence is always present. You cannot hide from the divine because it's always here. The infinite mind knows our every thought, and it is always responding to that thought. You see, here's the key thing. It is impossible for a practitioner to use this power without a deep and sincere spiritual conviction. This is where really the rubber meets the road. Do you truly believe that you are one with this power? Do you truly believe that this power will respond to you? Are you willing to do the work to prove it? And you see, an obstruction to a practitioner is nothing but a challenge to change their consciousness. It's nothing but to change their consciousness. You see, this law of mind, this law of creation, is a mechanical and mathematical reaction to our thinking. That's what it is. The law of mind, the law that creates, responds mathematically and precisely to our thinking. The clarity of our thought produces a clear and concise outcome based on the mental image we provide this law. So our job not only is to build the conviction, but it is to give it a clear image. Because if we don't give it a clear image, we're going to get an unclear result, a result that's not what we want. And I think it's really important to understand that. You see, a practitioner knows that all conditions are fluid. Conditions flow in and out, back and forth in our thought. Our job is to have them flow in a specific direction. The law of mind will automatically reverse conditions to meet a new state of awareness created by us as practitioners. Our job is to always build the state of awareness that we see as the highest expression for ourselves. And I say, why the highest expression? Because it's always about experiencing a greater life. And how do you experience a greater life? You have to raise your awareness level. So if you want more abundance, you've got to raise your level of abundance. Realize that abundance is there for you. There are no limitations. But your thought, words, actions, and feelings must be in alignment with that level of abundance that you're seeking. Same thing with health, relationships, spiritual connection with anything in life. It's about raising your level of awareness. You see, the basis of spiritual mind treatment is that our life is pure spirit. We realize we are individualizations of the infinite. We recognize also that spirit is at the center of everyone's being. No matter who you're looking with, no matter what they're demonstrating in their life, spirit is present. It is the realization of this perfection of our oneness with spirit that truly heals. It heals relationships, it heals our bodies, it heals our minds, it heals our financial status. It's the realization that we are one. That's where meditation comes in. That's why meditation is so important, because meditation allows us to put down our ego for a little bit and have an experience, even though it's very small, very short, an experience of oneness. Because it's in the experience of oneness that all healing and transformation takes place. If a treatment is real to the one making it, and the one making it has a deep conviction in oneness, then and only then will the treatment have power. If the statements are purely intellectual, they have no power. They have to have feeling. How many of you remember the movie, The Replacements? Football movie with Shane Falco. Washed up quarterback, but Shane was the man. And I can remember that when the coach told Shane he was off the team because the other quarterback that was an all-star Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winning quarterback was coming back. He said, he's coming back. I've got to use him. I have no choice. But he said to Falco, Falco, you've got heart. And then they're in the game that's going to decide whether they go to the playoffs. And the coach is there and they're losing 17-0. They're getting whooped. And the reporter comes to the coach at halftime as he's going in. And he says, what do you got to do? What's going to change? And he says, you've got to have heart. You've got to have heart. Shane Falco was watching and he got the cure. He got the cure. He got the message. He heard the message and he came back. You watch the program to see what happens. There was heart. Heart wins every time. If you're doing something and there's no heart in it, don't waste your time doing it. If you're going to do something, put your heart into it with everything you got. You see, a practitioner removes mental blocks by knowing spiritual reality, that we are one. It is the practitioner's job, it is your job, to adjust your intellectual vision from separation, being separate from oneness, to the spiritual realization of love, of oneness. That's our purpose, to realize oneness and then direct the power to have a greater experience of love, of law. You see, we don't deny as practitioners the conditions of life, the things that might be going wrong, but we rather deny the wrong relationship being looked at. And you see, when we shift our consciousness and declare that everything is in the body of ideas and in its proper place, everything shifts for us. We have that power. No matter how impossible a situation may seem, the practitioner holds to the idea that there's nothing that spirit cannot overcome. No matter how much confusion one is experiencing, peace and clarity are always the underlying truth. Our confusion is we don't see it. You see, folks, life is, and we live it. The law of mind is, and we use it. We know something about the how. We know nothing about the why. The how we use, the why we accept. Don't ask, why are you here? Know that there is a power in you and you can use it. And use it the way your heart will expand and grow and become more. And you become an example to everyone you meet. And when you become an example, you become a teacher. And that is the best teacher in the world, is one who leads by example, not by words, not by position, by the example of living in oneness as love. That, my friends, is pure agape.